Thursday, January 1st, 3:03 p.m. New York time. Welcome back, investors, to Winning Wall Street's Money. We'll look back on the year-end performance of 2025. First, I'll show you the stock indexes, and then I'll show you the stock sectors. Everything I show you, you could trade in the financial markets. There's stock indexes and ETFs for everything I'm going to show you. It requires you typically to have a brokerage account, minimum with a stockbroker account. I'm going to show you the last trading prices of each financial asset. If you want to buy one share, that would be the cost at that particular time, but that's past. Just to show you some insight, you don't have to pay that full price of the stock share. If you have a broker that offers you fractional shares, you could do that as well too. Example, if the stock is $200, brokers that offer you fractional shares, some let you put as low as $10, and maybe other ones let you put lower. Again, you could do investing, dollar cost average, buying on the dip. I highly recommend you have a broker that's in the United States. It's got at least, say, 10 years of history and a living, breathing office in the United States with the living, breathing people you can speak to. So, going to break this down. The United States has several stock exchanges. It has different indexes. Different companies create indexes. They manage those. The major stock index in the United States is referred to the S&P 500. It has 500 companies that trade on that index. That index has 11 sectors, and we're going to look at those 11 sectors during the video. So one could either do one of both things. You can either buy a stock ETF, stock index that mirrors the S&P 500, or you could buy individual of the sectors inside that index to try to outperform. Again, the S&P 500, 500 publicly traded companies, and then there's 11 sectors in there. Well, the S&P 500 stock index is also comprised of several indexes. Yeah, the S&P 500 consists of the NASDAQ 100. Again, there's different NASDAQ indexes. You might have heard one called the NASDAQ Composite. I am not showing you that one. I am showing the NASDAQ 100. I'm also going to show you one of the oldest indexes in history, Dow Jones Industrial Average, and then the Dow Transport, Dow Utilities, and Russell 2000. So the S&P 500 is made up of the NASDAQ 100, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the Dow Transports, the Dow Utilities, and the S&P 100. The S&P 100 index, I'm not going to show you on here. It pretty much looks the same as the S&P 500. The Russell 2000 is not part of the S&P 500. The Russell 2000 is very small companies in value compared to the Dow Jones. What do I mean by value? Companies are judged based on their earnings at the end of the day, the value of the company. So on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, those 30 companies, each of them individually are worth billions of dollars, where you have other indexes, some companies are only worth a few million. So again, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, one of the oldest stock indexes in the United States, 30 companies. Originally, it wasn't 30 companies. It was originally maybe 11 or 12. But each of those companies are worth hundreds of billions of dollars. That's a value. Whereas the Russell 2000, you might again have companies worth 3 million. Big difference. So the big boys that are home base, corporate headquarters in the United States, all the companies on the Dow Jones Industrial Average are American companies. You don't have to be an American company to be listed on every stock index, nor you don't have to be an American company to be listed on the stock exchanges. Different symbols mean different things. Yeah. So we'll start off with the S&P 500 since I bored you with all that other detail. Again, 10 years of history you're looking at here. Each candle's a month. Charts don't lie like politicians do. So fact, see this green arrow facing up? That was in the year 2022. And see, we finished up here, all-time high on the far right, high of 2025. The current U.S. stock market has been a bull run since October of 2022. That would mean we've been overlapping two administrations, two executive branches of the government. I mean, 2 terms and different leadership. Yep. That's going to shock some people because some people only believe what they're told without checking and verifying charts. Some people only believe the bull market started this year. No, the fact is it started here. For this index, not all indexes are the same. Yep, for over 4 years, we've been in a run-up. Now, if you want to take history, so historically, any round close to around just shy, a little less than 3 years and a little less than 5 years is typically when you're in these secular bull markets. That being said, we could continue going higher, but the probability is that's less likely. Just use caution. So again, you don't have to stay invested in the S&P 500. Again, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to show you sectors so you could try to outperform it. Yep. So the last month of the year, we finished all-time new high. All-time new high. Outstanding. Made a new high for the year. And look how small that candle is. Little wick on the top, little wick on the bottom, little tiny body. That's called a dodgy candle. That kind of candle, dodgy candle. And what that means is, historically, it means indecision at that point and potential reversal, as well as potential halfway point. That's why it's called individual. It's called a indecision candle because it hasn't done yet either a reversal or halfway point higher. That's concerning. We'll look at the other stock indexes and sectors, see how they're performing. The NASDAQ 100. It's a index mostly of high-tech companies. Well, the all-time high was 3 months ago, so it's underperforming the S&P 500. And again, look at that little candle, the last one. Happens to be yellow. Little body, big wick, top, bottom. Yellow candle means it didn't take out the higher low of the prior candle. That also means indecision. That's concerning. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, like I said, 30 companies in there. It made an all-time new high in smaller trading range. It outperformed the NASDAQ 100. Again, this index is much more diversified. Even though it has less companies in the index than the NASDAQ 100, this is very diversified. I have other videos showing you that. The Dow Transports, it's not diversified. It is what it says it is. Transports, 20 companies. Made a new high for the year. It's still below the highs of 2021. Still below the highs of 2024. It's struggling. The Dow Utilities, 15 companies. 3 months ago, made the all-time new high and finished off the year. Look at that. Lower high, lower low. Huge red candle. Big sell-off. There we go. The Russell 2000, the small companies. All-time new high. Outstanding. Look at that huge wick on the top, little body. That's referred to a bearish pin bar. I discussed those much more in detail. I'm not going to take time to do that here. Again, that's called a bearish pin bar. So there you go. The major stock indexes of the United States. Like I said, the S&P 500 here on the top left. The only index here that's not part of it is the Russell 2000. Let's go over to the sectors now. Each sector has a different weighted average in the S&P 500, and that changes periodically. So I'll try to keep them in order for the most part of which one weighs the most, represents the largest in the index of the S&P 500. So look at here, technology. Again, the name, the symbol, and again, to let you know we're on the monthly chart, meaning each candle is a month, and this chart is 10 years. Very similar to the NASDAQ 100. It makes sense because it's technology. Healthcare, inside candle for that last month of the year, and still below the highs of last year. Big turnaround. So looking at these sectors, give you some insight. They will show you which one is performing better in the U.S. economy currently. That sector maybe be the place to look for jobs if you're unemployed or looking to change your jobs or looking to relocate. Because obviously where they're located at, they probably have a better economy and one that's not a good sector. A lot of people use this data, what I'm showing you. Financials, all-time new high, outstanding. Again, this is what helped the Dow Jones Industrial Average because there's a lot of big banks in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Outstanding. The big banks. When I say big banks, the financials, again, that's a sector. Financials represents banks, mortgage brokers, insurance companies. There's several industries within each sector. Consumer discretionary, all-time new high, outstanding. Communication services. Well, 4 months ago was the all-time new high, just shy of there. But it's building a lot of energy here, has a higher probability going higher. Communication services. Industrial, all-time new high, outstanding. Yeah, several of these outperforming the technology ones. Interesting. Consumer staples. Nope. Last year was the all-time new high. Here we are, red candle, near the lows of the year. Energy, below the highs of last year, underperforming. Utilities. Well, 3 months ago was the high of the year, formed a bearish pin bar, followed by that yellow inside candle and huge sell-off month of December. Real estate. We finished off lower high, lower low, red, above the lows of this year, below the highs of this year, below the highs of 2021. Not looking great. Nope, underperforming. Not good. And materials. Didn't take out the high this year, still below the high of last year. Thank you as always, spending just a little time with me. That's it for the video. Thank you for watching.